Sammy and I were just talking about how on Wednesdays we put that little question up in the Facebook group about what's on your mind. And so this week we got 3 questions. We're going to quickly go through and discuss them and just post this into the Facebook group. And we'll do this every week or so. So here's the first question that I saw. I'd love strategies for impulse control, as well as how to deal with an admin who has a compliance over connection approach. So that's actually 2 questions. Now, just so everybody knows, Sammy and I didn't talk about any of these questions. I didn't even really, other than just reading the questions, I haven't thought about them. So this is all off the cuff. We'll see how we do. So let's go. This strategies for impulse control. I'm assuming they're talking about kids' impulse control. What would you say?
My first thought was two pieces. One, impulse for some kids is really difficult to control. And so it's kind of coming through again, back to those functions. What is the need that's occurring around this impulse? So if they are blurting out, is that an impulse of like, I get so excited or jazzed about whatever we're talking about that I can't control that? Is it an attention function? Like, again, what is the need? And if they've narrowed it down to, oh, it's specifically for this purpose, then again, we're looking at those function-based matching interventions, so to speak, to kind of mirror that. And so if they want the attention and they're blurting out and you know it's going to be something that they're really excited about, then ahead of time, proactively, they're the leader to help you with this discussion. And so you're going to kind of frame what that behavior looks like. Hey, you're going to help me today. You're going to come sit right up here. And this is what I want you to do. And so you're kind of hopefully getting ahead of it versus acting reactively to the impulse.
Yeah, I think that's a really big open question. Impulse control is huge. So I'd want more information, but I think that's spot on. I think, is it impulse that they're grabbing things that they don't want? But again, it's either, is it impulse uncontrollable urges? Is it a lack of communication skills? Do they just need to know how to ask for whatever it is? So I think what you talked about is perfect. It's just you're going back to that function. Why is it happening? And then how can you get it before it happens?
And then how can we match whatever that need or desire or
Right.
fulfill it in a socially appropriate manner?
Right. And then the second one, how to deal with an admin who has a compliance over connection approach. Super old school. Oh, that it's still out there. It's still out there. I think the thing I would say to this is just modeling it more than anything. You can model your connection need to your admin as well as to what it is with the students, but showing how it works, the type of connection. I mean, we'd have students who would only work for us because we had this great connection. I had this, well, there's lots of instances of this. I think in that case, you're not going to be able to teach that old dog new tricks really, but I think just being an example of what connection is and how important it is to us in life.
I feel like it comes down to a couple different things. Getting to know the admin and pairing yourself,
Yeah, that's what
so
I mean.
to speak, to get to know them. That old dog, new tricks. There are just some admin that have gotten into a position of authority that are like, you're going to do as I say because I am who I am. And that's just how it's going to be. And so I think that there's some things that we aren't going to be able to change those in circumstances, but we change how we interact with the admin and we model and mirror for all of the other people or educators around us how it should be. And so I think it comes back down to just that pairing. And I think that, I don't know, that is a very difficult, and I don't think that there's a perfect answer. And I don't think that we're going to fix that ever for a really long time. And so
until they move off and the newer people come in, that's just going to be what happens. Yeah, I think it's just baby steps with that. The second question, small agency, but no support with admin in the school, even on potential litigious cases, trying to make everyone happy when working in the school districts. So this sounds like it's coming from an agency BCBA who's working either on contract with the school or being sent into the school from the agency. And this is one, I would say, the thing that I always taught my people going into the districts before we were contract with districts is like your number one purpose in going in is just to be asked back. I mean, that's your only reason for going in. Once you build a connection, so going into even a litigious situation, in being that person that's bright and happy and wants to work and what's working right, and looking at, you may go into a classroom that's just running horribly. You can pick out something that's going well and you want to focus on that. And so it's this whole idea of, again, it's that baby steps, is you want to be able to ask back, because otherwise you're going in immediately headbutting everybody, everything, and you're going to get that anyway. So as much as you can be a soft place to kind of work with and to see yourself working on the same side of the table as them, that's going to help you. So when I first started here, many years ago, when I moved down here, this was back when BCBAs weren't even, nobody even knew what a BCBA was. No district had any sort of interaction with any outside agency. And I think they'd had enough legal suits, and there's probably 6 districts in the immediate area that I've interacted with. And there'd been enough legal suits in all of those cases that immediately, like if we were a private client with somebody and they wanted us to go in and support in the school, we immediately got the no, we do not have any sort of outside agency coming in. We got everything. And so it took the one case here and a one case there. We'd get one teacher or one admin willing to let us come in and do a 20-minute observation, whatever piece that they were willing to give us, and to go in there and to make it, look, I'm here to help you. How can I be of help to you? I am not here to critique what you're doing. And those itty bitty baby steps, and started to open up things, and like, oh, these people actually are helpful. So it just took time in building those relationships in the area. And now and not because of what we did, it's just enough time has passed that they've seen that we can be helpful, that all of our local agents or districts here have either BCBAs on staff or they contract, and we have a good relationship. But there's been a history of legal actions that have caused districts to kind of shut down our interactions from the outside. And I think we need to work on changing that.
I think that my first question would be embedding somewhere into a parent training model, because maybe the parents, especially if it's a litigious something, there needs to be a program that helps them identify the own supports that they have presented to them, so that they themselves can speak on behalf of their child to the schools. So you're basically educating the parent on, if it's something that's not being done in an IEP, then you would basically just say to the parents that, that is a school-based support. Under an IEP, you can call and request a meeting at any time. My recommendation for you would be and you're basically doing it from a parent training model, then you yourself inserting yourself.
And then the third one, sticking with an intervention for a solid 2 weeks consistently across staff. We've been talking about how changes in approach cannot be made on the fly and should be discussed as a team. I'm going to let you take this one, Sammy. Always at least cleared through the LBS, which I assume is their team, how to recognize when they are frustrated and need to switch versus deciding to take a different approach. Yes.
I have so many thoughts on this. I mean,
that's a good one.
It actually is, because it's the first thing is, again, about what we do and how we measure progress and why we are so data driven, because otherwise you're just throwing a dart at a dartboard and you're hoping that you're going to land on a score. Also, if you look at as a whole, as a team, the amount of energy and effort that everyone puts in if they're running around with their heads cut off, doing all of these different things versus just sticking to the plan, it actually is a lot smoother and easier to focus on just what's outlined versus keep making different changes. And then you won't know what's working and what's not anyway.
How do you get staff to understand that, to see that?
From a data-driven mindset, I'd probably say, okay, so that specific thing that you guys did on this day, do you felt like it worked? Here's some data that you can do to try to track data on this. And that would happen is they'd be taking data, it would get out of sort.
This is a constant problem.
It is.
And that's either school district or clinical, is just being able to stick with something and to not try to throw too many interventions in at once. Because I think this is what we have a lot, is a teacher wants everything to be done, everything to be fixed, the big long list of accommodations, everything done now. Let's just try little things first and see if they work. Otherwise, if we try everything, we don't know what one's working, and then we're doing too much anyway. So yeah.
And like you had said, it's about moving the big boulder before you're kind of addressing the pebbles. And I think what you said is actually probably the best answer, is it's probably too many different things. And maybe that's too much for the team, or maybe it's a team training. Maybe they actually don't know how they're supposed to be doing the things. And so they keep changing it because it's actually coming from a place of their own knowledge.
Right. And I think I put an answer on a different question in there some time ago. And I think this applies here, is like, maybe you need a reinforcement system for your staff. Say you choose a particular intervention that you want to try and you want to do for 2 weeks, have everybody have a little sticker chart. It's like, we did that every day. And let's, at the end of everybody gets a sticker for 2 weeks, we're going to bring in pizza or something. Maybe you need a set of reinforcement system for your staff.
Yeah.
All right, so those were questions this week. That gives you hey, look, we actually read the questions and discuss it.
We
So
do.
Wednesdays or anytime, go ahead into the Facebook group and ask your question. And maybe if we get the bug in our ear, we will meet on here and discuss, see what non-answers we have for you.